Hey, how you doing? We should be streaming. We're gonna check real quick to make sure we are streaming. It would be interesting if we weren't. Ah, yes we are. We're all good, live and in charge. All right, folks. It is that time again. It is that time again. Just finished watching the second episode of House of the Dragon. And so it was a juicy one. Like, people move far. They move further in time. They're like just to give a timeline. We are 6 months since the death of the king's wife, and a lot of things have changed. The king is getting a lot of pressure to remarry because, he has an heir, but it's not the heir that people want because they want a male child or somebody else. Um, Prince Daemon, that's the bad boy, that's the king's brother, has taken over Dragonstone. So, just to give a little context and history behind it, just in case you're like, why the hell is Dragonstone so important? Okay, so traditionally, Dragonstone is the seat of House Targaryen. If you go back way in history, I think that's the first place where they first landed when after the Doom of Valeria. Um, So without going, you can go and there's plenty of other wonderful YouTube channels who can go deep into that history, or you can Google it yourself. But just like that's the first place supposedly where they landed is called Dragonstone, and so it's a very significant castle in history in that castle. In this case, that seat is reserved for the heir to the throne. So technically, Damon moved to a place that actually legally belongs to his niece now that she is the heir apparent. And he decided he gonna move there, and he took gold cloaks with him. Now, gold cloaks are the folks who are supposed to be patrolling the city. Those are the soldiers that patrol the city. Remember, Damon was put in charge of them. He has a really good relationship with the Gold Cloaks. They follow him, and they followed him to Dragonstone and help him take it over. And that is seen as a great slight against his brother and the crown because he's not the heir apparent. You're not the heir. That is supposed to be your niece's crown, or niece's seat, her castle, because eventually what's supposed to happen is she's supposed to move there. That's the way that goes, right? So that's going down, and it looks bad. It looks real bad, and already we see that Viserys is seen as a very weak king, and people are like, "Yo, you need to do something." And at the same time, you got Corlys Valerion, that is the black man with the dreads, who's coming in. He controls the navy, um, and he's worried about what's going on at the Stepstones. What's going on at the Free Cities. And if you remember what the Free Cities were, that's was in the original Game of Thrones TV series. And what's happening is there is a rogue prince who has taken over the Stepstones, and he's advancing, and um, he's becoming a very powerful adversary, and no one's doing anything about it. And Corlys is looking at this like, yo, this is a problem because if they take over certain ports, he's screwed, and so is the Seven Kingdoms. And Viserys is not even really caring as much as he believes that he should care about that, right? It's like, hey, if they stop the ports, we're all screwed, dude. What are you doing? You the king. We gotta do something. And Viserys is like, well, I don't want to go to war. I've looked into it. I sent someone there, and we're gonna make this. Whatever happens, happens. And Corlys sees like this is much more of a problem than Viserys thinks. And apparently, a lot of the other small council members are not as concerned about it either. So he's kind of all alone on this, and he has a lot of cats in that bag because he runs the other port. So if that shuts down, he's fucked. So we are where we are here. So he's consistently frustrated by what's been happening. and rightfully so. We go back to see that the king is injured again. Now, remember, he has some wound on his back. That's an open wound. I'm not sure with that, but also his finger. Now we know he nicked his finger on the throne, but now things seem to be getting a bit worse. That finger looked terrible, and so now they're cleaning it out. Now I don't know. I think they're foreshadowing that he has a lot of health problems that are popping up, and that he needs another heir, right? Um, I don't remember reading the histories of Westeros where they said anything about him being sick. So this is an invention of the show, right? Uh, so medically, they're doing what they're doing, and he's getting all these little nicks, and they're getting like worse, and they're doing the best they can. But as we can see, it's like foreshadowing. He's gonna die, and we need something going on here. So that's what's happening, like physically, in terms of I'm watching those details to see how sick he's going to get. Then we have the high towers, and by high towers we have the daughter. I did forget her damn name. Um, and she's getting closer to the king as she's supposed to, based on what her father wanted her to do, who is the hand of the king, is Otto Hightower. And you see, I mean, I think if you have half a brain and some eyes to see, you can see that that relationship is getting a little closer and closer, and eventually things eventually will happen. So that's going down. Um, we get to a point where Rhaenyra says something during a High Council meeting when Corlys enters, and it was surprising. Corlys was like, "Oh, she actually wants to do something. She has thoughts. I like her. I like this idea. Yes, I agree with her." And she suggests that, they go say, "We have dragon riders. Just send the dragon riders over to Stepstones and let's take care of this and, get this done." Now, look, here's the thing about the show versus what's actually in the materials we know from the books and stories about the dance of dragons. Not the house, but that's what the time period the Civil War eventually that happens is going to be called. There are a few dragon riders, okay? Damon is a dragon rider. He has his own dragon. Rhaenyra has her own dragon, who we see. But there is another dragon because Princess Rhaenys is also a dragon rider, and that is the one who got passed over. And Princess Rhaenys is a princess because she is the granddaughter of the last king who died. But she's a woman, so they didn't pick her. But she's actually a dragon rider. She's a warrior. And they're not showing this in the show. I don't know if we'll ever see her on a dragon or not, but that is a thing with the show, right? And not only that, but the little girl who we do see, who is Corlys' daughter, also had her own dragon. And I think maybe the son did too. I don't quite remember. But yeah, there was a few dragon riders or people who had dragons attached to them. Now, because of probably budgetary reasons, I'm gonna chalk it up to that. We're not seeing other things that are actually in the histories and the written histories. So that's a little nerdum for you. There's other channels that talk way deeper and analyze everything. I just going off of what I remember reading and also, from analyzation from channels that go deeper into the actual written material. Okay, but we only have two dragon riders. We have Rhaenyra, and we have Damon. Those are the only two we see. Even though technically there was supposedly a few more. Will we see them? I have no idea. It's not going to be as cool without them, but it is what it is. So we got that going on, right? And then, yeah, she says what she says at the council meeting. The king dismisses her. So we can see tension. And apparently they haven't been speaking that much. And it's been 6 months. So since that's been going on, we'll move on to some things that have happened here. So Damon is once again he took over Dragonstone, which does not belong to him, and he stole one of the dragon eggs. And you see that in the episode, he stole one of the dragon eggs. And here's the thing about the dragon egg. Uh, Rhaenyra asks which dragon egg did they take, and the dragon egg that was taken was the one that was picked for her brother, and that is the dragon egg that is supposed to go to the heir, whoever the heck that's going to be, the next baby in the line for the throne, which is not Damon's. So he still steals that, and that just sets the king on fire. So Otto Hightower goes, and he is going to get this dragon egg back. That is what he said he gonna do. Um, Now they're trying to prevent a war, but because Damon, he all about that. He all about let's do the swords, let's do it all, right? He's that type of dude. Now it's an interesting scene because when you watch it, you see how high up they are. It's a lot of danger. It's a lot of open space. You can see potentially someone like this is about to get nasty. And so Damon shows up. He got his little hoe next to him, and she don't know half the crap that Damon has said, and she gets a little upset when she finds out what the hell he said. She's like, "What the hell?" And she just, she's like, "Screw you," and walks away. So Damon's holding this dragon egg, and tossing it around like he really doesn't give a damn, even though this is supposed to be very precious cargo, right? So guess who the heck shows up because something interesting happens. You see, Prince Rhaenyra shows up on her dragon and flies around, meets the other dragon, which is a much bigger dragon than hers, which is her uncle's dragon, because her dragon is still very young, and lands her dragon and just, walks up past everybody, being a boss, because she ain't afraid at all. She's not afraid. Walks up to her uncle's like, yo, fool, what the fuck? What you doing? It's my house. I'm just joking. But yeah, that's essentially what she does. And homeboy's looking at her like, well, this ain't your place till you come of age. And she's like, don't be fucking stupid, uncle. Give me the damn egg. This ain't yours. You know? And it's a very interesting exchange that they wind up having at that bridge. But she is triumphant. Damien tosses the egg back to her. He goes back into Dragonstone because she just came there for the egg. She ain't really there about, dragging him back. She just, like, all we're trying to do is get this egg without bloodshed. And the only one who can talk potentially any damn sense or stand up to her uncle, Big Bag Damon, is her. And she does. She does it successfully. And then rides back to King's Landing and everything else, only to be yelled at by her dad. Because her dad's like, you could have been fucking killed. You're my only heir. You could have been killed. But he didn't see the scene where homegirl said, I am the only reason why you mad is because of me, because I'm the heir. So let's end it right here. Kill me. You big bag Damon, kill me. Come on, dude. What's up, son? Kill me. And he doesn't pull it off. So she showed Damon up. This is the big bad, Damon. So that was a really, I thought that was kind of interesting right there. A little, I was like, oh, that was pretty good. So where we at? So that, all the sorts of things happen from there. One thing that I'm sure other people talk about was the little girl, which is Corliss's daughter, is there because Corliss decides, hey, you know what? Let's, we can fix all of this, right? Because everyone thinks you weak. Everyone's waiting for a new, you have no new baby, no queen. Things are getting worse. We got to show that you're strong. So you marry into our family, and we can make you look good. We can make you look good. Two houses of old Valyria, because once again, I think I said in the first video, but Valyrian is a house from Valyria, which is the place where the Targaryens come from. The Valyrians come from Valyria too. In fact, I think I said before, but in case I didn't, I'll go over it now. The Targaryens and Valyrians technically are cousins already. Princess Rhaenys, who is his wife, um, she's already married into family. They're already like they're cousins. Okay, they're cousins. So they already married. But before then, actually, traditionally, the House of Targaryen and the House of Valerian had always married into each other. They had a uh, close or closest relationship, right? They really did. So I know he goes to a little monologue at the end of the episode about Valerian and all that stuff, and like he's only going from his perspective in modern Valerian. Back in Valyria, the history textbooks, These people have married in for each other because the Targaryens were the dragon lords. House Valyrian was never, they're not dragon lords. They were sea lords. So they always, there were many other houses and stuff, but different place too. They married into each other and they work together on things and stuff. So that's has always been a relationship that goes back centuries. Okay, so that's bringing in more context than what the stuff that he's saying, right? So, um, but that's a little monologue and some extra context there, just in case you want it. So, anyway, the king's being pressured to marry, and next thing you know, his little girl, I don't know how old his little girl is. She has to be maybe, if she's 12, and you're looking at her, and he's looking at her, and it's like, you know, you know, I, I don't know how old that girl's supposed to be. I think she's 12. Maybe she's younger, but like, you married into the house, but when is baby gonna come? I don't even know if that girl was old enough to have her period yet. You get me? But once again, that's not uncommon. Now, if you watch shows like Tudors, you've seen people get married to people much older, kids that were like 8, 9 years old, being married to kings that were in their 20s or 30s, or 40s or older, and they're like, okay, you just got to wait 5 years, and when she has her first period, then you'll be able to bang, 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 and try to get some kids. So that is not an uncommon thing. I guess she was 12. I mean, now I'll give you a little history. Yes, there have been, still are, but have been people who've married children, married kids who were 12 years old, had babies with them when they were 13 or 12. And if you can have your period, you have the ability to carry a child if, in those situations. So that's the kind of thing that was kind of common. That was very common in the Middle Ages, and this show, fantasy, delves into that. So you see that, right? She's very, very young, and they've taught her, that's her place as a woman's place in this, in the construct that we're seeing is very much your job is to, if you're a highborn lady, uh, be married to a highborn man and make babies and be a piece of negotiation, and that's what she's there for, and that's what they're trying to, that's what Princess Rhaenys is trying to tell Princess Rhaenyra. I was like, look, they will not let you be queen at all. They ain't gonna let you. They're gonna tear this realm apart before they let a woman be queen. And so your dad's gonna have to remarry somebody, and you probably may not even like it. But if you think that you really gonna have a good chance being queen, you bet think something else. It'll be war. And she's warning her about these things because she asks her, "Hey, don't you it doesn't bother you that your little girl, and that girl's 12 years old. Wow, if she is." And she's like, "Yeah, of course I'm worried. Of course I don't like it. I don't like this shit. But here we are." That's her position. Like, here we are. This is the system we're working in. What can we do? And she's a fucking princess. So two princesses having a conversation. An older princess trying to school the younger one about, how things work. Work, 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 work. I had to do that in there because we put that in there. But yeah. So that's going. It is what it is. So ultimately, we see the king looking at this little girl. And it's like, I can't get my jollies off on you. I mean, if she was older, maybe, but she's too young. I can't get my. I, I can't. He seemed like, now, for instance, if this was Daemon Targaryen, he probably would like, okay, he would probably rip that little girl cherry that night if he thought it would get him something that he wanted. To be honest with you, because he's that type of guy. And I say that because some other things that we have not seen may or may not happen. So I will wait. If I remember this comment, I will wait and refer why I said what I said. If I remember. So yeah. So eventually, as we know, the closeness of that relationship between Viserys and the Hand's daughter pays off because he said, "I'm going to marry her." Now, Rhaenyra, that was supposed to be Rhaenyra, handmaiden, homegirl. Mm, as you can see, we already kicking off to a very bad start, a very rocky relationship. beforehand, so you already see it. I see it. You see it. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's going down. That's going down. So the episode ends really culminating with Damon and Corliss having that conversation about the stepstones and them becoming creating the relationship to go and do something about it because Corliss got too much to lose and Damon got shit to gain. Type of situation. While Rhaenyra is not quite happy about the choice in marriage, just like Corliss was not happy that the king chose not to marry his under his little girl. I guess that I don't know how old that girl's supposed to be in this, but I looked at the face. I'm like, first it looked short, and then I was like, this is a tiny. If she's 12 years old, I'd be surprised. If she's 12, she might be 9 or 10. She might be 9 or 10. To be honest with you, she just might be 9 or 10. So but don't and for those you thinking, well, if she's 10, he just said, yeah, wow, he have to wait 8 years. No, honey, he won't have to wait 8 years. If she's 10 years old, let's say she's 10, he gonna have sex with her because he has to. She a virgin. He gonna have sex with her and gonna try to keep having sex with her until she has her period. And let's say in 2 years she has a period and he can get her pregnant. He's not waiting till she's turned 18. He would marry her within a few months and have sex with her, a child who's 10, if that girl's 10. If she's 12, because she looks much younger than that, she might be 10. She might be 10. But that's how that worked. Okay. For some of you don't understand that historical context, that's how that worked. Right. So, but he's looking at her like, you're too young. I can't. Like, and I don't have no connection with you. He's developing that connection in a little bit with, of course, Otto Hightower is the Hand of the King's daughter, and that's where it was going to murder. It was all she wrote right there. But just put in context, people are like, oh, she's so young, and then they would never do. I said, no, 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 they did that. You read your history books. Actually, that's goes on still today in certain places. But if you want to go into some American history in the 1800s, like pre-Civil War to Civil War time period, men would have sex with very young, we would consider underage children, and marry them. And I know of one story uh, where the guy married her at he married her at 14, I believe, but he'd been seeing her since she was 12, and married her at, I think, was it 14 or 15 he married her, one of the two. But I believe he married her at 14, and she had the baby when she was 15, the first baby at 14 and change, or 15 years old. But yeah, so that's something. Yeah, so she would have been, producing babies or whatever. But she's really young in this. I think she's pre-puberty um, in this one. So I know they don't really teach that in history about how young um, some of these people were in history, and when they're how old the mothers were and such, and how old the fathers were, because you don't get a lot of historical context. Just to put that in there, that's just how it was. So that's not unique. And if you've seen shows like The Tudors, you've seen them try to put those matches together and promise people to be married at freaking 8 years old and shit. So you've seen it. So that's what they're doing there. But woof, woof. So Uh, that's about wraps up most of the things that happen in the episode, except there is one small little bit. Um, Princess Rhaenyra chooses a new Crown's Guard for her father, and it's a guy who's a common board dude. And we'll see more of him in the next episode. He's in the next episode preview. He's significant person to watch. I don't, even though this information is already out there, because it's also going to tie into her uncle a little bit. Bleh, I don't want to say, I won't say anything because it seems they're changing some timelines, certain things that happen in the story a bit. So I would say it, but then it may not happen in that same way. So I will not speak anymore on it right now. Where are we at? We're like at 25 minutes. Wow, or 20 minutes. So that was episode 2. What do I think about it? There were slow parts of the episode. Yeah, some very slow parts in this episode because they're building. There's a lot of talking foundation. There's not a lot of action. So if you're a person who needs bang bang boom boom like every 10 to 15 minutes, this wasn't the episode for you. There was some very scare interesting parts where the crabs were eating people who were lying dying on the beach, and that's the introduction of the prince, one of the princes of the of the free cities who's going rogue and doing what the fuck he wants. That's it's a problem for them. So we'll see more. They have him looking really gnarly. Ugh, I'm like, ugh, like he looks like scared. I gotta rewind that again because it looked like half part of his. I'm not sure if that's a mask or a helmet. It's just the way I first saw it. I have to freeze frame it, watch that part again, maybe freeze frame it to see how they what that actually is on him. Um, but they called him the something crab, I forget. But ugh, eesh, eesh, type stuff. If you got a strong stomach, that ain't for you. Um, yeah, because every time the crab's crawling, and it's not oof, not for all of us, right? So that was the wrap of the episode. But what I thought of it, I enjoyed parts of the episode. It does run a bit slow. Um, I think in future episodes we're going to have a lot more action, but it does run a bit slow. We already see problems that are arising that continue to be ignored, so that's something to take note of. These things will be important. We see some more character development for Princess Rhaenyra. And we also see some context from Princess Rainey's, her position, and Corlys, and a bunch of other lords in this episode, and what's going on with the king and his health. Just stuff that we ought to pay attention to that will be important in the coming episodes. They seem to be moving relatively quickly in the timeline, which would be necessary because truthfully, I think the war at the Stepstones took 7 years, I believe. So 7 years of time went by during that. So, I'm not sure how far they're going to skip in the second episode. I really don't know. I don't think they're going to skip that far. They might skip to the part where the king has married at this point, or just before. I think it's just before because I saw the preview, and I think she's not married yet. Maybe. I mean, well, he's not married her yet. It might be like a month away or something like that. Um, it's hard to tell, but I'll watch the second episode. I mean, watch the third episode next week, and we shall see. But I liked the episode. Moves a little slow, but it was enjoyable with some of the things going on. I get excited because I'm like, oh, I know what this is and that and how they're building that and stuff. But for those of you who've never seen it, it might move slightly too slow for you, but there's some enjoyable parts. Watching different actors. Um, the guy who plays Viserys is actually a really good actor. He makes me believe he is the kind of king who should not have been king. Um, Acting wise, Damon was pretty back and forth for me. Corliss, I like that actor. He does a really good job at doing what he needs to do, and that the type of man that he is. And overall, I think the acting in the is relatively solid. For the main cast that we see so far. So there should be some good times in the third episode. I'm looking forward to checking it out. It's moving a bit slow, but I think I give shows chances, unlike some of y'all. So we shall see what happens in the next episode. Tune in next week, where we shall explore the third episode of House of the Dragon.